New York Liberty hands the Indiana Fever their second loss of the season, with many fans blaming the referees for their horrible officiating at the end of the game. So let's talk about it. What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. As you can see, I'm traveling again this week. I am in France, but shout out to all of you guys who tuned in to our watch party from France to watch this New York Liberty versus the Indiana Fever game. So today, I wanted to give you guys my honest reactions to this game, things that I noticed, things that could have gone better, players that stood out to me, and of course, we have got to talk about the refs because I feel like that has been the biggest topic of discussion from this game. So let's jump right in with some positives. Firstly, for the Indiana Fever, players that stood out to me, Aliyah Boston, once again, she just continues to impress me with her game, and you can tell that Aliyah Boston put in a ton of work during this offseason. If you just look at the post moves that Aliyah Boston is doing this season compared to what she did last season, she made leaps and bounds and improvements. I'm just blown away by what I've seen from her already this early in the season. She ended the game with 27 points and 13 rebounds. Kelsey Mitchell and Lexie Hull both had 15. And with Lexie Hull, what I wanted to point out is there's so much that she did on the court, especially on the defensive end, that didn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but she came out there with a lot of energy. And then if we want to talk about Caitlin Clark, she ended the night with 10 points and 10 assists. But the biggest moment of the game last night was when she finally snapped her cold streak. I think she had missed 8 threes in the game before she finally hit one. And you could see on her face and her body language that it was really starting to get to her. And if you guys remember, the game before this one was her first game since her sophomore year in college that she hadn't made a three-pointer. And she was cold for most of the game, and she was missing these threes like we haven't seen her miss threes, like bricks off the opposite side of the rim. So I don't know if it was mental. I don't know if she just had a cold streak. It happens with shooters. Like once you get cold for that long, it starts to get mental, and you could definitely see it in her body language. But something with Caitlin Clark, like she, even though she is only in her sophomore season, she is a leader for this Indiana Fever team. And so it was a little bit disheartening to me because I could see it on her body language, how down she was getting, and she has to find a way. I also would turn to the coaches for this as well, because they also need to figure out what buttons to push with her to help her snap out of it. But so many of her teammates are looking up to her. She really is a big leader on this team, even if she's not a veteran. So she has to find a way, even if she's not making shots, to make sure that she stays composed and stays in the game the best that she possibly can. Now, when she did finally hit that three, you saw her get super emotional over it. She was yelling, she was hyping up the crowd, and that was really a huge momentum swing for the Indiana Fever. There was a standing ovation in the arena. Everybody was waiting. They knew she would make that shot. Now, I do want to say that I'm proud of her for continuing to shoot, because as a shooter, you have to keep shooting. One of them is going to fall. You can't let it get in your head so much that you're scared to shoot, because once you do that, it starts to become a true mental block. So I'm happy that she continued to shoot until she finally hit one. And then after that, she hits a very long three from the logo to end the third quarter, and which put them up, I believe, around 10 points going into the fourth quarter. With that, that was a huge momentum shift, but this is something that happens to the greatest of greats when it comes to shooting. And I hope between her and the coaching staff, they can figure out ways to help her mentally stay in the game even when she's having a cold streak. She did take it to the basket a few times. She was able to get touches on the ball. But one of the things that I also think threw her off is Coach Stephanie White continues to play Caitlin off the ball. And it seems like she starts playing Caitlin off the ball when Caitlin is getting face guarded or when the defense is becoming more physical with her. I still don't get it, because we saw last season that that just doesn't work. And Caitlin, to me, seems like the type of player, she needs to have the ball in her hands to get a feel for it. And when she's not taking up the ball, when she's not running the offense herself, I could say, I could theorize that that might have been part of the reason that she just felt cold and she wasn't able to get into rhythm. I don't understand at this point in time. I know we're only 4 games in. I know it's still early in the season, but I don't understand why Coach Steph has her on the ball sometimes, off the ball sometimes, when last season that proved to not work. And if you look back at Iowa, like there's a certain almost Caitlin Clark system that kind of has to be played. It's a really fast basketball system. It's her having the ball in her hands for most of the time, running the offense, getting her teammates involved. It will actually benefit all the players around her if they play the style of basketball that fits with Caitlin Clark best. Does that make sense? We heard from the Indiana Fever all during the offseason that all they wanted to do was play fast, run the ball, play with pace, move the ball around, and they have been the ones in some of these games to slow the pace down. And I'm so confused by that because when they are actually running, they're running the fast break. You have Natasha Howard on the break, you have Kelsey Mitchell on the break, you have Lexie, you have Sophie on the break. All of these players play the best when they are doing that, when they are swinging the ball around the perimeter, when they are running the high pick and roll for Aliyah to Caitlin, but then everyone else is spread. Like that is actually the offense that suits everyone best. Kelsey gets her best shots when Caitlin is running point, not when Kelsey's running point. And there was a time also during the game when Sophie was running point. Sophie's fine to like get the ball going, but I feel like even for Sophie's game, she is better off if Caitlin is running point and getting her involved in that way. So it's a little confusing, and I'm trying not to overreact because a lot of fans are overreacting, but it's something to point out. It's truly something to point out. Now, with the New York Liberty, Jonquel Jones did exactly what I thought Jonquel Jones was going to do. She had a great game, 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists. And Jonquel Jones to me, is one of the best centers in the WNBA. Could be the best center in the WNBA if you take Asia out of that category. She is someone who can play big and she can also shoot the threes. She had 2 threes on the night. She made it really hard for Aliyah Boston. But that was something that I even tweeted a few days ago after the Indiana Fever went up against the Atlanta Dream in that first game, and I saw how Brittany Griner was playing. I tweeted and I said Jonquel Jones is going to have a field day with the Indiana Fever if they don't make defensive adjustments. Now, I think overall they did well defending her, but she did exactly what I thought she was going to do with the Fever being undersized. Natasha Cloud was the true difference maker for the New York Liberty. She ended the game with 16 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds, but she just came out as such a spark. She did well on both the defensive side and the offensive side. She plays with so much energy, and I feel like that's one of the best new additions that this New York Liberty team picked up during the offseason. And Sabrina also shot really well. She had 23 points, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds on the night. Now, my 2 keys to this game for the Indiana Fever in order to win this game, there was 2 things I said. I said you have to make sure that you don't let Jonquel Jones get going, and you can't let the New York Liberty go on big runs. This is a championship team. They know how to play from behind. They know how to win games. Like, you can't play around with that. You cannot let the New York Liberty go on big runs, and you can't let Jonquel Jones go off. And it was truly a back and forth game for most of the game. There was a time that the New York Liberty was up 14 points, but then going into the fourth quarter, like I mentioned, you guys, the Indiana Fever were up by 10. And this is after Caitlin Clark hit her 2 threes, snapped that long streak. There was so much energy in the arena. Now with that, the New York Liberty started chipping away at that lead, and I felt like Coach Stephanie White did not call a timeout soon enough. There was no reason, with the kind of lead that the Indiana Fever had with only a few minutes left in the game, that they should have lost this game. Now, if we want to get into it, let's talk about the referees. So as you can see after the game, Caitlin Clark and Sophie are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them. He won't even look at them in the face. He keeps turning. Like, Sophie even went up at one point and is like tapping on his arm. He would not even look at them. You guys, I have watched so much basketball in my lifetime, so much NBA, so much professional basketball. It's comical at times when you see the players after the games talking to the refs, because a lot of them end up knowing each other at a certain point because they'll They've reffed their game so many times. The fact that this referee wouldn't even acknowledge the players was kind of crazy to me. Like when I saw that, I said, this is really strange because the referee should have enough confidence in the calls that they made to at least discuss. You should be able to at least discuss something with the players, because a lot of times players will go up and be like, why did you call that? What did you see? What was going on? And there's a back and forth that's happening. This guy's literally running away from them. So that was something crazy that I saw after the game. But if you guys saw during the game, like the thing that won the New York Liberty the game was the foul on Sabrina when she takes it to the basket. As you guys can see here, Lexie Hull's guarding Sabrina. She goes straight up. Sabrina dips her shoulder a little bit and then flops to the ground. They called a foul on Lexie Hull here. Sabrina Ionescu, being the best shooter on the New York Liberty, of course she goes and knocks down 2 free throws after this play, and that puts them up 90-88 with about, I think it was like 10 or 20 seconds left in the game. This to me should not have been called a foul. Lexie Hull played great defense here. She literally went straight up with it. What I will say is Sabrina also played good offense, and this was kind of a veteran move for her. She dipped her shoulder to create the contact. With that contact, and this wasn't the only time something like this happened in the game. There was a couple plays that I was like, oh, offense created that contact. She created the contact and then she flopped and she got the call. Fans were arguably so upset about this. I do want to point out that on the broadcast, there's so much to go over in this game. Sorry. If this seems all over the place, I'm sorry. There's a lot to go over. During the broadcast, CBS had put up a graphic that said that the Indiana Fever had 1 challenge left. They had 1 challenge left and they had 1 timeout to advance the ball, and they didn't have any other timeouts. A lot of fans, including me, including everyone who was on the watch party, we were wondering why she did not challenge this play. Why do you not challenge that? If you have a challenge left, there's literally nothing. There's everything to lose at this point. There's everything to lose. Why are you not challenging the play? Come to find out, she actually didn't have a challenge left, or she had a challenge left, but you need a regular timeout in order to challenge, and she did not have that. So I put that back on CBS and the broadcasting because they were also talking about that. They're like, why isn't she challenging? Why isn't she challenging? Somebody on production should have been informing whoever was doing play-by-play, because literally the entire world was confused. And I'm sure the entire world is probably still blaming Coach Steph, because I wouldn't have known unless I saw it on the internet, like I saw the update that she actually was not able to challenge that. So again, it's all quite confusing. The broadcast was telling us otherwise. So that happens. Sabrina makes her 2 free throws and puts them up 2 points. And then right before this play, sorry, I should have mentioned this first, Caitlin Clark drives to the basket. First, there's a jump ball with Aliyah Boston. DB gets it. Caitlin Clark is being guarded by Natasha Howard, and she takes the ball to the basket, frees up DB. She has a great pass to her, and DB gets her shot blocked, and she falls to the ground. This was a no call. And if we put this in slow motion, you can kind of see, and they replayed it on the broadcast. She goes up, she gets bodied by 2 players, and they call it a clean block. Now, you can't challenge this because there was a no call, but clearly DB thinks that there was some contact made, and there was some contact made to the body. If she got the clean block, fine, but there was contact made to her body. They called this a no call, and then they take the ball out of bounds here. This in turn went to Sabrina's foul, and then the New York Liberty are up 2 points. And then the kicker, you guys, Caitlin Clark's chance to tie and or win the game, and this is what happened. So Natasha Cloud is guarding Caitlin Clark. As you can see, she comes across, Caitlin Clark goes up for 3, and there's no foul call, and then the game is over. Now, Natasha Cloud is a great defender, but on this play, she's hand checking Caitlin. Before she even gets the ball, you can see from the screenshots here, she's grabbing Caitlin's side. There was one time where she has 2 hands on her. She has a hand on her arm. She has a hand on her stomach. She has a hand on her hand. When she goes up, I think she does cleanly rip the ball, but there is contact on her arm. A lot of fans, including myself, also thought that that was a foul, but I'm also gonna say this to Caitlin. This is so common in the NBA, and if I were Caitlin's trainer, I would be working on these kind of things with her because she has to sell it even better. She has to become like a Luka or a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if the referees are going to continue to be like this. And something even I tweeted last night, after every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible in these games. If I'm the Indiana Fever and I know that this is going to be the way things are, you're going to have the mindset that if we want to win by 2, we actually have to win by 10. Like in our minds, we have to win by 10 in order to win by 2. If we want to win by 10, we have to win by 20. They have to start trying to hack the system. No one as fans wants to see flopping. They want to see the pure basketball. But if there's no other way around it, I'm going to need the trainers to get in there with the players and start working on some of these things. You're going to have to do better when it comes to flopping. If you feel something, we're going to have to start doing the European head throw, the soccer head throw. When you get bumped, you're going to have to do like this. When you're going to have to fall down more. That is something that it seems like the referees are not going to change their system. So some of these teams and players are going to have to change their system in order to get some of these calls until the WNBA steps in and says, we're going to start training our referees better, or we're going to start paying them more, or we're going to get in better people in order to make some of these games watchable. I don't like to make excuses and continue making excuses if there is no solution for it. Like if I'm going to complain about the refs, let's find a solution. If we can't do it with them just being better, if they're not going to be better, we're going to have to find a way to be better. And I get it from all sides. You want to scream at the top of your lungs, the officiating is bad, it does ruin games, but the Indiana Fever shouldn't have let the New York Liberty make the run that they did and get within 2 points. You wouldn't have been in this situation. And that wasn't because of the referees. That was because of the coaching and how the girls started playing once they were up by double digits. Now, I do want to play for you guys what Coach Steph White had to say about the referees at the end of the game.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control. I felt like at times our late game execution was good, and I consider most of the latter half of the fourth quarter because it was a tight ball game. We're still not recognizing our mismatches. I felt like AB had plenty of opportunities. We could have gotten her touches down low, and we had some turnovers, key turnovers. We settled at times. We fought, but we can't dig ourselves a hole from the beginning.
I like that she did call out the refs, and I think at this point in time, it's not up to the players. So as a coach, what I would do is I would try to keep my players as focused in on the game as they absolutely can be. And this happens not only with the Indiana Fever, we've seen it with so many other teams as well. There will be a play going on, and if a player thinks that they got fouled, they will turn to the ref and start arguing with the ref while the play is still happening because of the no call. And we've seen Caitlin do this. This is one of the criticisms that I have with her. Again, with her being on the court, she is a leader, whether she's a veteran or not, she's a leader of this team. When she starts doing that and all of a sudden it's 4-on-5, like that's not good for her team. And we have seen this, like I said, not only with the Fever, we've seen it with other teams. There was also this clip that was going viral where Brittany Griner was getting interviewed, and she literally leaves the sideline interview to go talk to the refs and starts getting really heated with them. So this is not just an Indiana Fever issue, and it might feel really biased. There's so many eyeballs on the Indiana Fever. This is a league issue, and I actually do plan on making an entire video about this. I didn't want to be consumed with it in this video, but I found an article that was actually really telling where they interviewed a veteran WNBA referee, but some of his answers to these questions were really telling. And so I want to make a whole video about that, so stay tuned for that. But it's something where if you can't change what's happening and you keep seeing it over and over, the physicality of the game is going to be a certain way because the refs are not going to call it differently. You have to figure out how to adapt to that, and you have to make changes. Lastly, I will say, and I've said it a million times, I don't think that the WNBA should be bragging that it is a physical league or like the physicality is the sell of the league. I actually don't think that equates to better basketball, just letting the players hack one another. With women's basketball, they play on one level. It's not like the NBA where they are playing above the rim. So yes, there will be more physicality just because everyone is pretty much on the same playing field. They play on the ground. But the refs do control how physical a game gets, and players aren't going to just continue hacking, continue holding, continue hand checking, continue doing all these things if they're not able to do it. So the referees do actually have a chance to make the product better. So I don't know from top down who needs to do what, but yes, something needs to change. In the meantime, as players, as coaches, you cannot let that consume you and take you out of the game and essentially get to the point where they are taking a risk that the refs can decide the ending of the game. So that's all I have to say about that. And I do want to end the video again on a high note because Jonquel Jones was interviewed after the game, and I wanted to share with you guys what she had to say about the Indiana Fever fans.
Be ready when you come in. When you come in here, Indiana has such great fans and their culture. So we knew it was going to be a tough one. We knew it was going to be a fight, and for their team to be a new team, they're doing really well and they're playing really well together. So we expected it.
I liked that she had that to say because there has been just this dark cloud around Indiana Fever fans and so many people saying that they are just fans that are full of hatred. So for her to come out here and say that they have a wonderful fan base, they knew that they were going to put up a fight, and shout out to the New York Liberty. They came to play, and at the end of the game, they played like champions. You cannot expect to be in a close match with the defending champs and expect that it's going to be an easy win, and they're not going to do what they've done in the past to win that game. So like Jonquel said, they came out to play, they rose to the occasion, and I honestly think at the end of the day, the Indiana Fever might have been outcoached once again, but I'm not gonna sit here and overreact. We will just have to see how the rest of the season goes. Okay, my camera shut off because clearly I've been talking way too long. With that, you guys, I'm going to wrap up this video. Please let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it, and click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And with that, you guys, I'll see you next time. Ooh, and ah.